Hello, Warriors. Ryan, how are you? Richard,
Morning, Dale.
Mike. Live from hell on earth, Menifee, California. How are you? So, a spoiled Westerner like me, worried about power outages while my neighbors' homes are burning down, their lives and their homes are burning down. So if you're safe and sound, be grateful. So before I get to the guys that talk about the currency mess, I just want to talk about one thing here that give you a possible bull case in silver. We had a throw over or throw under, clean out stops. Estelios had a feeling it might be a stop hunt. I had this wedge drawn before the throw under. It attempted last week to get back inside of it, and yesterday it did it with pretty good follow through, which is interesting that it's doing it with a strong dollar, with an extremely strong US dollar yen and rates being firm. The RSI on this low, which might just be a 2, but could be a bottom, did diverge from the low that we had in July. The other important part of this is this, which is a chart I put out last week. The gold silver ratio looks like a 3 drive to me, and I need a, if you want this ratio to turn, a negative weak red candle like this could do it, and then take it back to major support at 83. So just saying, this is what I see. And when you look at a wedge in silver, possible targets would be where I anchored it up here at about $21, 2080. So it has a lot of work to do, but to me this looks like a shakeout. Gold, of course, because the ratio's turning, has a nice little wick here. Silver looks better, and I think finally at this 50% level on the gold silver ratio, which is what we did here from the highs, might have been enough for people that were looking for 40 after this break. So just something to keep an eye on, or trade. It's up to you. We don't click anyone's mouse here at ForexAnalytix. So what I tweeted how I get really clear every morning when I talk to Ryan and Kman about overseas action. Why don't we start with you, Ryan, and talk euro. It took out the 99 level by about 20 pips, and attempted to rally. It's back above 99. Possible 3 drive maybe into the ECB, but wouldn't you have thought that if 99 was such a big level, we would have had more than a 20 pip follow through on this? Does that get your jaded trading eye on a little bit? I know it still looks bearish, but
yeah, I sat here Sunday night, as I do, going through the options and getting the stuff ready for the week, and just reading the news. And I even said it I think I said it in the chat room. I said I really don't feel like this 99 can stand up with all this gas news going on. The stuff we got late Friday and further stuff over the weekend about the pipelines being shut and everything. And I put a sell stop in 98.80 for overnight, which I very rarely do leave something like that overnight. Came in the next morning, got filled. We got the break of 99. I managed to get 3 pips in the green before it reversed, and I ended up getting stopped 99.20. But the fact that it didn't have any follow through, has gone a long way to solidify the level. We had an attempt in you could call it a fairly liquid time during Asia, or rather, sorry, it happened early Europe. But once again, they pushed and they couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't break it. you know, and it just adds to what we've got going on here. It's a big, strong level, and we're not too far off it again. You know, we had the bounce this morning, looked more yen led because yen pairs, you know, across the board were shooting to the moon.
Monster.
Yeah, you know, you look at all the crosses. You look at Guppy. You know, that's on a bit of a moon shoot as well. That pulled up the majors, but here we are again. Now it's a bit more dollar orientated strength we're seeing as you guys come back from your day off. And yeah, you know, the dollar's looking a bit stronger. Can it hold? We had this discussion this morning. There's a potential that it holds into the ECB at 99. But I think if it goes and we find we're holding below 99, then we're going to see a decent leg lower.
Okay, 1.272 up at 1038, 110.38. So Kman, another great call, staying with the trend in USD yen. So any news? I mean, yields aren't up that much today.
No,
they're up
I think yesterday was a pause with the US out. Perhaps the big boys didn't want to tear up the poor liquidity that there was, and then today we just resumed everything. Yeah, officials not yet, to my at least, all the level of worriness about the level, even though that they are watching it closely. But today, looking at the speed, I've let mine go, to be honest. There's this 127 extension came in at coming in around 141 in the 141.80s, and I've let mine go just for now because I thought something was a little out of sync with oils coming down relatively rapidly, and the US tends like still around 3.25%, but we tried higher this morning, and then now we're back below 3.25%. I don't know. I'm getting a little cautious right here and now, but of course, I think a lot now has to do as well with it doesn't go lower, so the model funds are still buying it because they just get triggers to buy it. But I'm getting a little cautious because there's a bit of traffic in different with different stakes as well between 140, 180 and 143 really on the dollar yen. So I'm getting just a tad cautious on it. But yeah, any dip unless the US yields drop and or oil drops further, I think still any deep dollar yen is going to find buyers just because of the huge central bank divergence as well.
Yeah.
And on the euro, I'm very unconvinced about this rebound back up to close to parity. Couldn't get it. Gas prices were lower again this morning. We are ahead of the ECB. It's less than 48 hours. Sorry. So I was expecting some management of positions on euro shorts in the next 48 hours, and perhaps euro having a look back above parity, but we don't even get it. And then more gas worries coming out. What was it? The Norwegian Equinor saying that it's panic stations in the market. Goldman Sachs saying that the energy bill will reach 2 trillion euros or $2 trillion come 2023 for Eurozone. And people are just worried about what's still hanging around the euro's neck. So I'm still not buying any euros, to be perfectly honest.
Okay, just technically with that fundamental backdrop, last week we had what's called an inside week. Last week's range was inside the prior week's range.
Yeah.
So far this week, we took out last week's low, made new lows for the move. If we take out last week's highs and close above it, I wouldn't be short. Okay,
yeah, where is that, Blake? That last week high?
Last week's high, I have this light here. Let me get rid of this. Here, last week's high was 79, par 79.
Oh, really? That low? Okay.
Yeah.
thought it was just above 101, perhaps. Okay.
And the 2-week off number, meaning, memory to the left, if by Friday we close above 99.63, that would be a 2-week reversal. So those are a couple numbers that I'd pay attention to on the euro. And the dollar, the dollar as well. We keep making new highs without major follow through. I mean, here, but I know a lot of people were looking for 110, 111. But you know what? Even there's this website called King World where they have all the Armageddon guys are always, bullish gold and, the end of Western civilization. And now they're talking about a $120 because they're so discouraged about what's been putting a cap on their narrative and finally relenting, kind of like making the cover of Barron's.
Right.
And you have, dollar bears saying, well, yeah, we can go to 120. So just something else to keep in mind. I bet there are some people surprised with the close that we had in the S&Ps, that real negative action on Friday that were a little higher here. That could 39.02 last week was 61.8 back. Maybe we're going to get a rally here in S&Ps this week.
I think
I don't know what.
I think it's possible because it all depends on. It will depend on the yields, of course, but also it is possible to me that we see a rebound on the equity markets if we start to cap a little bit in those yields and in the advent of the round of central banks. You recall I said, well, even end of August, I said that to me September is going to be a very big month for many assets, and I think now we are like beginning of September. We've got a lot of stuff to come out and a lot to digest. So perhaps the equity market could also take a bit of a breather and then wait for the round of central banks and the round of data to come out and tell us where it's really going to go.
What do you guys think about this? I mean, there's, like you said, there's really not much Europe can do about the cost of electricity, energy, etc. And, higher rates aren't going to, I don't think higher rates are going to solve an energy crisis. So all it's going to do is inflict pain on the people that could least afford it. But if you were in Europe and you could generate a 10, 15, 20% rally in the euro, wouldn't that, just like it's helped the US having a strong dollar, not take it as hard on the energy front?
Wow.
Would help the Europeans in a way if they had a stronger euro to during this energy crisis.
Absolutely, and I personally don't understand why ECB members haven't come out fighting strongly against this low euro. They know, but the funny thing is that,
well, I know I heard an interview yesterday, Kman. Sorry about the interruption. And Blake's interviewed Mark Faber quite a few times, and a buddy of mine sent me an interview. And the reason is he thinks Christine Lagarde is a criminal. So anyway,
well, normally he's on the other side of the
he
table.
speaks the guy speaks his mind. He's really an entertaining guy.
Well, technically she is, right? She's been convicted of what was it? Something tax related, wasn't it?
I didn't even know that.
She does. Yeah, she has been.
That's a prerequisite to be an official.
Yeah. Anyway, so Stel, good morning. How are you, bro?
Morning. I'm very good. So I'm listening to you guys talking, saying all these nice things. First of all, I want to say I've been writing it in the chat room. I have started getting long silver again. Average 1823 and nice. Only half a position. I want to see a lot more price action before I do something else. And on the front of Europe and the UK, I mean, you have governments who are saying, yeah, we're going to do this and do that, and basically throwing money out at the problem, when really what they need to be doing is finding solutions, like long-term solutions, in terms of infrastructure and all that. Obviously, this is not something you can fix within a day or a month or a year, but I'm seeing a lot of plans, the UK, what is it? Billions and billions, tens of billions getting thrown at the problem. In the very short term, it's probably going to give some relief, but looking further, what's going to happen? And you're absolutely right. Sorry,
mate. I was going to say it's not going to give any relief. It's going to enable us to stand still. It's 130 billion. Yeah. 130 billion. It's touted from trust, and another 40 for businesses. Wow. Just to stand still.
Yeah. So, and you're absolutely right, Dale, about the euro. I mean, the weak euro is exacerbating the problem, the inflation problem. So if you have a strong currency, it will ease the pain a little bit. And also, you're buying energy from outside sources, and it's obviously better to have a stronger currency to do so. But we are seeing ECB members becoming more and more hawkish, and that I think what they might want to do is front load the hikes as much as they can now. So the market's expecting, is it some between 50 and 75 for this upcoming meeting? I think there's no reason why they won't do 75. Obviously, the eurozone is going to be in all sorts of trouble now, right? In terms of economic growth or lack thereof, and tightening the monetary policy is not really doing anything to help that, but it does help the currency, and it's the only weapon that the central bank has. So they have to use it. If you don't use it now, we were saying this about the Fed, right, months ago. It's the same now with ECB and pretty much every central bank. This is your weapon. You have to use it because inflation is just out of control completely. Anyway,
so let's see. That's the big event this week.
Yes.
The ECB. And I'm wondering where our compadre Blake falls down on this stuff. This is kind of, just really, long sideways, almost looks like, developing some type of saucer bottom base. And, positioning is pretty bearish, almost record shorts. And
I think, and good morning, guys. How are you?
Hey, buddy.
Hey,
did you win the soccer tournament?
No, actually, unfortunately, the boys, it was hot. And by the way, I heard what you say. It is hot there.
Yeah.
I haven't been so miserable actually outside at a football or soccer game up until this weekend in California, because it's not only hot, but it's a little humid. Holy cow. I thought I was going to pass out, and I wasn't even playing. And we had our kids actually lost by a points margin, although they beat one of the best teams in the country, which was a big win for the boys. So thanks for asking. Now I wanted to just say with the ECB this weekend, with the ECB or this week, excuse me, I understand positioning is pretty short. I get all that, but I also have to say that the euro continues to trade very heavy, and I'm not sure the ECB is going to be able to deliver as hawkish of a
hike
as a hike. Is it going to be a dovish hike like all these other central banks? I just have a hard time believing that they're going to be super hawkish. What do you guys think about the ECB here? And I don't. Technically, it looks bearish. Technically, we're just hovering above 99 cents. But I don't see it, and I don't have any position in the euro. What are your thoughts? I heard all you guys earlier speaking. So what do you think, Stel?
Well, as I said before, I think they probably will surprise to the hawkish side. I think they probably will do 75. The question, though, is what do you do? I still think the euro has, short term kind of potential to rally a little bit on a more hawkish ECB, but I do think that if we get to that descending trend line, that's definitely a
this
sell
one right here.
in the short. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely
like
a sell in the short term.
well, I just can't physically be long right now while we're. I mean, I guess I could, but I just without any conviction can't be long while it's below 101.85. I mean, 101.80, somewhere around there. I mean, I agree with you. Brian, what do you think the ECB is going to be able to do this week?
I think from the market's perspective, they've got to show they're going hawkish. They've been playing catch up. They've been putting it off for too long while everyone else has been hiking. Everyone else has finally recognised what's been plainly in front of their faces. I think they've got to go 75, and I think they've got to indicate they're going to do that for a few more hikes, get the rate up, start combating this. But how many times have we been here when you expect a hawkish ECB and they don't deliver? So euro dollar is going to get caned if they don't deliver. Absolutely caned. You see 99 in the rear view mirror, I think.
Yeah, and then that might be that catalyst that drives us, from this 101 to 99 cent, range to a new range, which would be maybe 95 cents to 99 cents, right?
Yeah, exactly. But
I just wanted to say one of the things that people often forget, and this is a weekly chart. If you look at the creation when the euro was created or started, trading in the, around 2000, 2001, we've broken down, and we've been broken down since like the beginning of this year. So it's real hard for the pair to get up and go in reverse when we're in such a big breakdown state. I mean, we're, as you can see, we're levels we haven't seen in 20 years. So just something to keep in mind. This is a weekly chart, and you can see just the massive breakdown of the pair. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
No, I was going to say, even with all the news that's coming out, the Fed doing what they're doing, all the news with Russia, Ukraine, blah blah blah, we still can't bust this 99 level. And so if the ECB doesn't deliver and we still can't break that level, you've got to think we've got a bottom in place down here.
Well, and that's been kind of my argument, is that, gosh, we've thrown the world at it, but it still is not going down. I am starting to get a little bit worried about the dollar, and I'll say, I'm going to say this a couple of times, or for a couple of reasons. First of all, I get a little nervous when Stel starts buying precious metals. So, and that's not, that's a hat tip to Stelios, because he's usually pretty right here. And so what's your reasoning behind buying silver here?
Well, as I said on the chat room, I want to see, I think this might have been a false breakdown. We took out the 1813 lows, and we're right back above. And also we're seeing the dollar still strengthening and yields kind of inching higher, and metals are not going lower. So for now, I obviously want to see what the US does when they get in, when the markets open in an hour, because usually when the markets open, that's when metals get downward pressure. But I've been saying this for a while. If these lows get taken out and then we come back above and we close a daily, or even better, a weekly close above, this for me is a very strong technical signal. I always want to be long silver, me, right? But I'm trying I try to pick the best entry points. Sometimes I fail, but this one I think will be a good indication if we do close above.
And we basically completed a bear flag pattern. Then, I'm sitting here also listening to, I heard Kman, I heard you today about letting your dollar yen go at 142, and I did too. And just let me just show everybody, if you are not in the ForexAnalytix community, let me just kind of show this to you here. Here's our chat room, here's our trades room, and you can see I just closed my dollar yen as well from below. That's actually my second piece that I just let go, that I was long below 140, and I too am exiting this, and but that doesn't mean it's going to be the top by any stretch of the means. But we did just complete a pennant, which we talked about at the end of last week. If you were listening to this free F.A.C.E show, we also just hit the 127% extension. I still think it can extend up to 145, 146, but which would be trendline resistance up here. However, I'm starting to get a little bit nervous because we aren't seeing gold break down below. It's not getting a nice solid break below 1700, especially at 1680 level. You got Stel starting to buy some precious metals. And frankly, you look at the equity markets, we're sitting, we've kind of recovered a little bit, but overall, I think the equity markets are at risk of, retesting these lows that we put in this year. To be frank, we break below this, 618 retracement around 3,900, and this market's donezo. It's going to hit some more stops. And if that happens, what if the yen finally picks up a risk-off bid, or maybe we start to see yields come down and the yen start to strengthen? Kman, do you think that it's possible that the yen becomes a risk-off hedge again, like it used to be? Do you think that's even possible now?
That's your $25 million question, because we gave it up on 1st of April. And we've been now running 6 months, where yen doesn't give a dime about whether it's risk on or risk off. So that's really $1 million question. I don't have the answer to that. When the correlation will come back, it probably will be hard, but it's not going to happen without yields coming off. That is, to me, the prerequisite for dollar yen to find the top and start to come back lower is that when yields come off, when the yield differentials are tightening, and whether it's
that isn't now
by the US, which is most likely right now that needed, or a surprise by the Bank of Japan, that's the other possibility. But for now, the Bank of Japan doesn't seem to want to move in any way. So yeah, for the time being, I don't see what is going to underpin yen unless oil and commodities crash away.
All right. That's thank you very much for that answer. And I have to say that I'm skeptical about yields continuing to go higher, because it's like the market really is. I'm surprised the market's holding up as well as it is, with yields screaming higher. But what I guess I'm gathering from you is it is a yen story, or it is a yield story at this moment. But we do have to watch equities. Equities are, this is our support zone. We're obviously on it right now. The 618 retracement. We knew that 3,900 level was going to be strong last week. We bounced off there pretty aggressively last week, and we're holding above it. Any move below 3,900, and we do have problems. And so we do have the ECB this week. We also have Fed Chairman Powell. He's actually speaking later this week on Thursday, which is going to be a big speech, and he's participating at the Cato Institute's annual monetary conference via satellite. So that's going to be a big deal, and that's going to be Thursday, right after the ECB. So those are the two big events that I think, if you're trading around the dollar, you're trading around the markets, that you're really focused on going into this week. Hey, we got about do we have any data coming out today? I'm fresh off of driving, so I'm
later today, not now.
Okay.
By the way, Mike, my contrarian indicator, is that a joke, or are you serious about it?
No, I'm serious, because
Mike,
if precious metals start to bounce, then the yen's probably going to bounce too.
I'm talking about Mike, who's writing that I'm in a contrarian indicator.
Oh no!
If you think so, feel free to go against me. Also, when you trade your first,
no, he's not a contrarian indicator. He's a you got to be paying attention to Stelius when he starts stepping back into precious metals. I know I do. It's a big deal to me. as well. So, and the precious metals and yen usually go opposite. So if I've been short yen and long dollar yen, and precious metals are finding some sort of low, that typically could mean that the dollar yen is going to find some highs, or the yen's about ready to catch a bid, or we're getting close to that. So anyway, that's how I feel about that. And Stelios, great looks in silver. Dale, who are you interviewing today?
Mr. Kirk Spano.
Oh, okay, great. Well, let me just say this really quick. Make sure, if you guys have not checked out the Trader Funding Program, you want to learn how to trade our money, and you don't want to risk your own money, but you want to keep 75% of the returns, but you don't want to take any risk. Well, check out the Trader Funding Program. And if you don't have access to larger amounts of money and you'd like to get that, well, check out the Trader Funding Program. It might be right for you. There's a video at the very bottom. We have traders that get access to larger trading accounts live. What is it, Stelios? It seems like every week now, multiple times a week.
Yeah, we have a few every week now.
Yeah, it's awesome. So make sure you check it out and see if it's right for you. All right, guys. Ryan, Kman, Stelios. I didn't hear Steve here today, but Dale, have a great one. And we'll see you guys. We'll see you if you're in the ForexAnalytix community, which you would be if you were in the Trader Funding Program, because you automatically get to be in the ForexAnalytix community. We'll see you on the Morning Edge in about 45 minutes.
Thanks, Blake. And I want to say I've been watching Stel's macro ideas and pips for 6 years, and I wish I had his hit rate long term. And we'll wrap it up with that. And I want to introduce Kirk Spano, one of the original guests of F.A.C.E. Kirk, it's been a long time. We don't talk as often. I have a pretty long rotation nowadays, so glad to have you back in it. Welcome back. How are you, buddy? Waiting for you to unmute and express yourself now that all the adults are back from the Hamptons.
Yeah, it appears you forget about your old boyfriends once in a while, huh?
Just call me I'm kind of a guest whore. All right. So anyway, right. I didn't forget about you, Kirk. Sometimes people slip through the cracks. I'm a guest hunter, and sometimes I'm out there looking for new blood, and I appreciate the guys that were here at the beginning, and you're one of them, and great to have you back. What a great topic you've chosen. The dollar here. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing?
I heard you guys talking about it, so I thought I'd pull these up and add some other things.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about. I think there's a lot of great trades coming up this fall. I think a lot of them are going to hinge on the Federal Reserve. I think everybody is probably in agreement on that. About a decade ago, I said that the dollar would go on a long-term bull market. I wrote this on Market Watch in a series of articles in 2012 to 2013. And of course, we've gotten that bull market in the dollar.
Yeah, I am here to, affirm that since I've been talking to you. Anytime I brought up the potential of a bear market in the dollar, you've been steadfast, constructive on the dollar for years now.
Right. And that largely comes from demographic reasons, massive benefit of our geography, our military, our diplomatic core, the financial reach around the world. There's just a long list of reasons why the dollar should be strong. And now we're entering a couple of new eras. And one of the new eras is cryptocurrency. We saw that Saudi Arabia is moving towards legitimizing Bitcoin there. It's something that we talked about in May, that I said, look, the emerging markets and other markets were going to legitimize Bitcoin. So I'll get to that in a few minutes. But the dollar is peaking. I said as soon as Joe Biden was elected that was going to mark a local bottom in the dollar and that we were going to get a big rally. So we're getting the big rally. I think that in the short term, though, your trade is to look for a reversal in the dollar. And I don't.
Why fundamentally? What's going to drive it, Kirk? Because I ask people, I go, give me one fundamental reason, like why the euro would go up, why the dollar would top, and not many can come up with an answer. They have to think to try and come up with something. So what's your reason for a dollar break?
The fundamental reason is that you're looking for economic reasons in a world where economic reasoning doesn't always follow people's narrative. And the dollar is always going to be strong just because America. But in the shorter term time frames, you get overbought and oversold. And I'm a quant, I was a quant before it was cool. And you simply have to look for shortages of buyers and abundances of buyers and shortages of sellers and abundances of sellers. And right now we're starting to see a shortage of buyers of the dollar. That's all there really is to it. And the margin that you have propping up some of these dollar trades, once the dollar trades stall, and that'll happen on some big institutional move that nobody sees coming, or the Fed saying something that nobody expected. It'll just be some
How
event.
about the BOJ? I mean, the yen has been on a tear in the opposite direction. I mean, it's been a record move. Could it come from Asia?
Absolutely. The yen
Chinese or the Japanese?
I don't think the Chinese matter as much as the Chinese think they matter. But I think Japan, the yen is always a good indicator. It's just historically proven to be a good indicator. So if we see a reversal in the dollar here, I'd see somewhere before the end of the year would be my guess. In fact, I think it could happen before the election.
All right, Amira is saying the elections.
Yeah. And
so what would be bearish? Not as much of a flip for a Republican flip in the House, and that the Democrats hold on to more seats than the market was expecting, or what?
The Democrats holding Congress would be bullish for the dollar. So, the idea that the Republicans are somehow good for the dollar belies history. I mean, the Republicans have never been good for the dollar in my lifetime. So I don't know if that changed, but it hasn't been the case. I mean, you look Bush, you look Trump came right out and said he was trying to kill the dollar, and he tried, and he hit these big support levels, and then he lost. So you get that. If Trump had won, the dollar. Yeah, if Trump had won, we probably would have collapsed on the dollar because that's what he wanted. So the dollar is strong. Why did Democrats drive the dollar up? Is because they know that from standard of living standpoint, that's good for their constituency, for 60% of the 70% of the population, maybe 90% of the population. So you're just running out of buyers on the dollar right now. That's all there is to it.
So it's more technical. There's really no major fundamental shift or anything. It's just the way the market's set up, which is how it is normally anyway. And then we come up with reasons to explain it, right? Like
there's always a narrative that somebody throws on the Reddit or Twitter or whatever, and here's your narrative. I'm like, whatever. I've been saying the same thing for 15 years. So I think that you can just see this reversal in the dollar coming up. I said back in March and May that I thought the Fed would ease up a little bit in September. We'll see. I got a month, 3 weeks before that, we find out. I've kind of couched that a little bit. I do think the Fed backs off. I don't think they outright pivot, but I think they back off a little bit at some point this year. I think it'll just be lower interest rate increases. I think they're going to run off money off the balance sheet into next year sometime. But what I think is happening, and it's something that you brought up about a year ago, is this great divergence, is what I've been calling it in the markets, where the whole sustainability idea, the decarbonization idea, is going to drive a lot of things, and that's all technologically driven. So where are we in some of these pivot points? It's hard to know, but we did hit a pretty important idea when it comes to electric cars in the United States. And since this article was published on Bloomberg, we got the incentive bill, what do they call it? The Inflation Reduction Act. You know, whatever. It's a sustainable energy and a little bit of healthcare and a little bit of corporate taxes act. And
a lot of IRS employees.
Yeah, and you know, so you know, maybe I will move to Puerto Rico. We'll see. But you know, Ford is targeting 600. I might move to Puerto Rico. I like it. You know, there's a lot going for it.
Hey, look, anywhere there's a casino, you'll feel at home.
Right. So right, Ford is targeting 600,000 EVs by the end of next year, and by 2024 and 25, 2 million. So if Ford is telling you that, hey, a quarter of our cars are going to be EV in the next 30 to 36 months, you know, that's pretty in sync with what Bloomberg is saying and other sources are saying, is that the United States is going to be about 25% EV sales 3-4 years out, which is after the 2020 CES. I told everybody 2026 and 2027 are the years that EV adoption just starts screaming, and we're on pace for that. The materials are there, the supply chains are moving. You know, Ohio's building the Intel plant, and that'll help a lot of things with cars. And you've got the Ford super factory in Kentucky. You know, there's a lot that's going to change for oil demand. If I can find oil demand here, this one. So, oh no, it was this one. Oil demand is slowly turning over, and you're going to have supply increase. So another trade that I think the traders should be looking for is, you know, when does oil turn over and head back down to that 60 to 80 range that I talked about in May? You know, right after I said that, oil started going down. And I think this little rebound rally, I don't know if OPEC, Saudi Arabia in particular, is going to try to screw with the elections. I don't really know. I think that's hard to say. What I do think happened in Saudi Arabia when Joe Biden was over there, though, is I think he told Saudi Arabia in no uncertain terms, if you screw with me, I'm going to screw with you. And, you know, I got to see Joe Biden in Milwaukee yesterday. I tell you what, you know, you can like him or not like him, whatever you are politically, I don't really care, but the guy's kind of a badass. And anybody who doesn't think that he's a tough guy just hasn't really been paying attention for 30 years. So anybody who puts pressure on him is going to get pressure back. And I'd be surprised if OPEC and Saudi Arabia do much more than try to talk the price of oil to around 90, which is, of course, the price that Saudi Arabia wants. Saudi Arabia needs $80 to $90 oil to make their budget work. Russia is clearly making bank on this right now. But as soon as their buyers dry up, they're in trouble. They've already had huge damage to their economy. So, you know, the war that I, you know, saw with Iran and Israel, or Iran and Saudi Arabia, that didn't happen yet. The Russia-Ukraine war, which I kind of talked about, I never really thought that he'd go as far as he did. But, you know, you've got this pressure on oil in the very short term, and all these things lining up to push it back down. Where is the tipping point on that? I don't really know. I mean, you guys are much better week-to-week traders than I am. So I would just say you should be hunting the next oil short probably after the next oil pop, right? And I think that's the easiest way to look at it.
Yeah, maybe back to 110, 115 would be a decent area, wrong over 130.
Yeah, and I listened to you guys talk about that. So it makes a lot of sense to me that the price of oil jumps one more time. However, like I said, if Saudi Arabia does feel in any way threatened by President Biden, and I think that they should, then maybe it won't. So that's hard to know. where that's going to go. The trade that I really, really like right now, though, is, and I talked about it last time, is Bitcoin. When Bitcoin was 50,000 something, I gave an interview in January, said it's going to drop down to 20,000. Well, now we've been bouncing around 20,000 for a month. I told you in May that was going to happen, and it's happening. If you guys are trading Bitcoin futures or Bitcoin or whatever you're doing with that, man, I just think that you can make a whopper of a trade. And here's the reason why it's going to happen. Institutional adoption is moving. Somebody keeps soaking up Bitcoin at around 20,000. So all the hodlers, all the kids, all the $7,000 accounts and $5,000 accounts and $12,000 accounts, we're like, oh my God, I can't let this go to zero on me, so I'm going to sell. All these people who are selling because they need the money because of inflation, or they moved out of their parents' basement or whatever, those Bitcoin are getting bought. And I'm one of the buyers. I've been buying Bitcoin every time it goes under 20,000. So I think that you should be looking for a trade for Bitcoin to go on a monster rally, and it's going to happen fast. And it's going to happen because of a news event, maybe Saudi Arabia, which is talking about Bitcoin, maybe the bonds down in El Salvador, or maybe some African nations. There are no shortage of emerging markets that are tinkering with Bitcoin. And all you need is an institutional investor, say BlackRock, getting in bed with Coinbase to move a big hunk of the market. Right now, about 25% of family offices own Bitcoin, and they're projecting that'll be 75% by the end of next year. So you've got the richest people in the world, you've got emerging markets, and I think that you're probably...
it wasn't only small retail guys, Scaramucci, Michael Saylor, they weren't $7,000 accounts.
But some of them were forced into having to sell, and that's what you've got. You got leveraged people. Saylor borrowed money to buy Bitcoin. I got somebody in there telling me sell 20,000. Maybe for a couple minutes.
John McAfee committed suicide, so he didn't have to eat his what, because it didn't go to 100, right? Anyway, there were a lot of big guys that lost a lot of money. I mean, Scaramucci had to close a fund because of it. Now he may go right back into it.
Right, but that's the same cycle as anything else in commodities, right? Is when you get over leveraged, you get a collapse. So that's what we're seeing with Bitcoin right now. I got this guy in the chat room saying it's going to 1,000. Hey, maybe. I doubt it. I think that Bitcoin probably has an absolute bottom.
14.
Pretty close to where we are. Yeah, in the teens somewhere. It's hard to know. It's a volatile asset, but there are huge buyers. And if
where do you buy it, and where do you domicile your cash in this environment? Is Coinbase the only place to execute it, or do you just find a way to buy it and put it in one of those wallets and carry it around?
So two ways. I use Coinbase to do my buying. The reason I use Coinbase is they're biggest, and I always said that they'd end up being the safest. And when BlackRock got into bed with them, a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I think that was pretty well validated. Now, I do put a lot of Bitcoin in cold storage because I don't really trade it. I've just been accumulating it. So, I have a wallet, and it just, sits there, and I plug it in if I ever have to plug it in. I like the hard. I like the drives. So, you can do what you want. I'm just telling folks that I am not a guy who was a Bitcoin pusher, right? I bought it in 2016 as a trade because I saw the hype, and I sold it on the profit, and I did it again. And then in 2020, when it crashed, I really took a look at the fundamentals of Bitcoin, and it came down to being an adoption story. And the adoption is there. When you have the richest 2% of the people in the world saying, we're going to put some of our assets in this so that we can hide it from the government or move it around the world when we want to, and just as an alternative asset class, you start doing back of the napkin stuff.
If they were really smart, they would have adopted me.
Yeah, right. Me too.
Anyway, I have a question from one of our attendees.
Okay.
I can see coin going to 12K, and with all due respect, Kirk, how do you get around Bitcoin's energy usage problem?
So the
from
energy
Paul?
usage problem is old news. I mean, almost all of the new production of Bitcoin has been alternative energy, and most of the old production of Bitcoin, which was mainly China up until a couple of years ago, has moved towards renewable energy. So the idea that we're using up energy to mine Bitcoin is kind of a silly one, especially when you take a look at what's going on in Texas and Montana and everywhere else. Is when they have an energy shortage, what do? They turn off the Bitcoin miners and they send the energy back to the grid. And then when there's excess energy, they take it again. So this idea that it's somehow perpetually imposing on the energy supply or creating more fumes in the air because it's using coal it's just not right anymore. I'm not saying that wasn't the right story a couple of years ago when Musk was tweeting about, but that's not really the way that it is anymore. Virtually all new Bitcoin miners and even the old ones have moved towards renewable energy, and they turn it off and on depending on what the needs and of the energy grid are. So that's just not a great argument anymore, even though it probably was at one time.
Yeah, you want to wrap this with do you have a view on the market and the Fed?
I've said that the Fed will back off sometime this year, but between now and then, I think that we test the bottom. Okay. Does it break through the bottom? That's a really good question, right? I think that there has to be a black swan or the Fed making a mistake. And I can't put it past the Fed that they might make a mistake. Somebody just mentioned that.
They always do.
Well, they mentioned that Christine Lagarde is a lawyer. Well, the guy that we got running our Fed is a lawyer too. So the economists, which, flip a coin whether they're right or wrong half the time. I just think that they are set up with their rhetoric to make a big mistake. It is normal for the first quarter of the year to be the soft quarter. If they're smart, they'll back off before the first quarter. If they are dumb, they will wait until they've caused a big problem. So we'll see.
Okay. Another question. What do you think of circle and yield farming?
I don't even know what that is.
I think that's where people put up their Bitcoin for some type of yield on it, or they turn it in. Is that what it is, Tulin?
Yeah, I've loaned out all of my Ethereum. I haven't even looked to see if I can touch it yet. I just loaned all of the Ethereum out. So if you're talking about loaning out your coins, I think it's a great idea. I really do. I think that as long as you're not using an organization that's highly leveraged, I think you're going to be fine.
Okay. All right. So
again, I use Coinbase because I trust them, and I love the fact that BlackRock got in their pocket.
Okay. So really the narrative, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we're close to a top in the dollar. You didn't talk about what kind of decline we could get. Could the Dixie pull back to that 90 level where the rally started under Biden?
Yeah, so I think we definitely get into what I call the Goldilocks zone again. Definitely going to go back under, into
back
that
under 104 would be negative, right? Back under that breakout.
Yeah, and then this area right in here, middle 90s.
Okay.
Back in 2014, and I got lambasted for this. I said within a decade the euro would be at parity with the dollar. And I pulled out some of my lines just to make this easier to read. But I said this a long time ago. So now here we are in this area where, again, we're running out of sellers on the euro, just like we're running out of buyers on the dollar. So you'd expect a reversal, I think, sometime this year. Will it be a sharp reversal? I don't know. I think it'll just be a trade for you guys. It's not much that I'll do with it. But I think it'll be a good trade if you can get a good signal to cherry pick, whichever week it is that it reverses.
Yeah. Well, for $999, I'll send you a text. Anyway, right. So Kirk, your analysis. Always enjoy your perspectives. Learned from you today. Politically, what is bullish and bearish for the dollar. Never thought of it in those terms. Best way for people to follow you, get in touch with you, work with you.
You know what? Follow me on Twitter. That's what I want. Just follow at Kirk Spano right here on Twitter.
Okay.
I don't put a ton out there, but I do send out some of my articles, and every now and then I make fun of somebody, and that's always amusing. I am apt to use some farmers' words because I'm from the edge of town at this point, and I can smell the cows. So it's just Kirk Spano at Twitter. You'll find everything else from there.
All right, my trading warrior brother, always rooting for you, still a fan, and great to talk to you to start this fall trading season out with everyone back from vacation.
Right.
Good luck.
Right.
Good hunting, buddy.
Enjoy your surfing, sir.
Okay, and I'll get back to you. We're surfing over the flames out here, so I'll get a hold of you, and we'll get back together this fall winter time frame, buddy.
All right, you take care.
All right, Kirk Spano, everybody. Follow him at Kirk Spano. It's real easy to spell, easy to find, and he's a great follow. So you could join the team now in about 20 minutes for the morning edge. Let's have a great September, everybody. And remember, most of all, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. I'll see you all tomorrow for Turnaround Wednesday. Adios. Thanks, Kirk.
Take care.